something that you're interested in. Then, of course, you can go to professional communities, so associations of particular professions. You can go to, the museums organization, the museums event, Museum Next conference, whatever it is. You can go to so many tech conferences or be part of tech groups. You can also be part of online groups that are focused on particular founders. So like Babes on Waves is particularly for BIPOC people, or, there are Found and Flourish, which is for women founders, usually in the UK. There's Chief, which is for women in C-suite positions. I mean, there are so many different, organizations out there that can be based on any sort of point you have to. And these are great ways to start thinking about how you can expand your community or find your people, because if you go to any of those, so you go to the Association of Brazilians in London, or you go to the Latin American Food Festival, or whatever it is, you all have already a point to start from. So if you all love knitting and you're a knitting club, you can talk to people about knitting. You don't need to talk about your job, sell yourself. And it's just a really nice way to start meeting new people and engaging with others. And of course, if you're in a professional organization, then you're all part of that already. So you have something to talk about. You don't need to force a conversation. You don't need to fake anything. You all have a level field to start from. So it really relieves a lot of the pressure, and you can experiment. A lot of these communities have online events. A lot of these things do webinars, or they'll have socials that are really chill, and you can test it out until you find the place that's best for you. So these are just a few resources. If you go to our website on online networking, which I'm going to link to at the end, but I think Sarah can share with you all afterwards, we have a ton of free resources. We have two. One's the group mentoring guide and the one called the Creative Careers Guide. And they all have lists with links of communities and resources like this that you can take a look at to figure out, oh, that sounds really interesting. This is something I like to be a part of, and experiment. Now, one of my favorite ways of networking professionally, in this case, is to use your online presence. So I would like to know on the chat if you use any social media already or any digital platform for your professional presence. So, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook groups, Twitter, whatever it is. So just let me know so I can take a look. I'll keep the chat I'll keep an eye on the chat. LinkedIn, yes. Twitter and LinkedIn, amazing. So here's the thing. When you are online, you have a really great, how do I say this? Upper head. Because you can actually take advantage of your online presence in the sense that you can describe or you can craft the narrative of how you want to be seen. Now, this does not mean that I'm telling you to go full Anna Delvey or, Tinder swindler on people around you, okay? It's not like to create a whole new persona for you. But you remember how I shared some of my timeline with you and some of the things that I've done in the past. If you look at my LinkedIn now, you're not going to see all of that because it doesn't make sense, because it's not applicable. And it's a snapshot of who you are. So it's one piece of you that you want people to connect with so that they can start a conversation with you, because that's all that you want to get going, right? So ask yourself, number one, where do you want to be professionally? And what do you want to highlight to get there? Okay. Now, a really good exercise to do is to do what I like to call light stalking. If you have LinkedIn, and I see a lot of you do it, it's a really good exercise to go and see people who are maybe one step ahead of you in your career, or doing things that you are interested in, but they are not like the CEO of something right away, or maybe they're just 1-2 steps ahead of you, or even in your same level, but in the company, for instance, that you really like to work for, and see two things. One, how are they describing themselves? So in their bio, what are they framing? What are they highlighting? In their experiences, what are they highlighting? What are the skills that they're saying that they're good at? And those will really help you to understand, okay, maybe I should craft this more. Maybe, everyone seems to have this certification highlighted. So maybe this is important. Maybe I don't highlight that I also have the certification. So it's just a good assessment for you to understand, maybe this is where I need to be, maybe this are some of the strengths I should probably work on. And of course, you're not going to have the exact same experience as someone else, but it does help you to see how people are framing you, because we tend to really not be really good cheerleaders for ourselves. Someone said that they like to do cheerleading, so I thought that was something good to throw at. We are much better at highlighting other people's achievements than our own. So I think it's really important that we start seeing this and reframing how we do it. So a little light stalking and seeing people that you admire, seeing how they're talking about their work and their skills can be a really good exercise. So think about these questions when you are crafting your persona online. And the other thing is that networking is always a two-way relationship. You don't talk at people, right? You talk with them, you talk to them, you have a conversation. The goal of networking is just to start conversations that will either support you, bring, insights, bring, some hugs. Sometimes that's what you need, some support. That will challenge your worldview, or maybe will bring you opportunities. Whatever it is, there's a massive amount of opportunities that can come from networking. Most jobs tend to come from networking, most promotions, and so on. So just remember that if you are following or connecting with too many people and you're feeling like your feed or your homepage or whatever it is that you're using, or your newsletters that you're receiving are not giving you any of that, they're not enriching your life, they're not nourishing your professional life or giving you any of those benefits, you should probably tailor that, because you have total agency over who you follow, which means that you have agency over the content you can receive and who you get to connect with, right? And that is really powerful because you can basically decide how people see you. In real life event, you can't really decide what people are going to think of you. People judge people through many things. We all have internal biases. We all know that. But when you are online, you can control a lot more of how you're presenting yourself. So you can tell people what you do, how do you do it, what is expertise. You can, have a really funny profile, or you can have a really friendly one or a much more serious one, depending on your field, depending on your goals, all of those things, right? But you can basically decide how you want people to first get that impression of you, which means that you can then sort of kind of almost tailor the sort of people that will approach you and how people will approach you, right? Which is really nice and powerful. So remember that you always have agency over who you follow, because I think a lot of times you get really bogged down, like, oh, I'm networking, I want something from people, whatever. I'm going to look desperate, I'm going to look this, and you can control how you look a lot of the times. Second thing is definitely test out platforms. Different platforms will talk to different people, will talk to different companies, will talk to different moments. So if you are a fashion journalist, you're probably on Instagram and TikTok. If you're a politics journalist, you're probably on Twitter or Reddit and some other forums. So even within one profession, people will use different tools for their work. Now, also some people prefer different platforms than others. So definitely test out the ones that work from you and decide if you're going to have a professional platform to network from, which ones you're going to use and how much time you plan on spending time on them and how often you're going to be there, because consistency is going to be really important when we're networking. And just remember that quality is always better than quantity, because we don't want anyone to be overwhelmed by this. The goal of this workshop is to give you tips so that networking is sort of part of your life, not something that you have to always keep thinking of, okay? One thing that I love about LinkedIn, and I think Instagram as well, and also Twitter, but LinkedIn particularly, it's something really useful for professionals because you can use it in a very smart way as a search platform if you're looking for a job or if you're looking to develop your career. There are a few things that you can do on it besides connecting with people. And LinkedIn is already built for networking. So everyone who is there is sort of like has signed a tacit agreement that they agree to contact others and be contacted by others, because that's why they created it. So if you go on any big company's profile, if someone is sharing a post, they'll usually tell you who's the hiring person, who's in the HR. You can go to the company's page and usually see people's names, filter by location, and filter by type of work. So you can see who's in marketing, who is, in finance, who is hiring. And it means that you can actually then message people directly. You can also see what they're doing, what they're talking about, who do they follow, what's the content that they've been sharing and liking. So you can really help you to get, if you're looking, for instance, to dive deeply into a new industry, you can start by following the big players there, then seeing who are they following and seeing who are the companies, who works there, in your level, what do they do. So it's a really nice way to use it and actually bring a lot of insight into your own career. Now, when we are networking online, one of the great things, as I mentioned, is that you can reach out to others. It's a lot less pressure because, especially again, as I said, on platforms like LinkedIn and others, you have to use sort of your, official name. Most people have a photo. So there's immediately something that you get from the other person and the other person gets from you. So they'll have, as I mentioned, that snapshot of who you are in the way that you want to be seen, right? A really nice thing or a side benefit of networking online is that you get to test your skill and get used to reaching out to others so that when you are face to face with someone, you feel a lot more comfortable. And trust me, it really works. So here's the thing. When you're reaching out to someone online, it is a lot different than when you talk to someone in a conference or a networking event or in your local coffee shop, as I'm sure you know. There is this idea of the elevator pitch, which is this thing of like you're in an elevator, you have 30 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever, 3 floors to impress the person who's going to change your life. Now, that's not super applicable anyway. I've never seen anyone actually do this in an elevator. That would be slightly terrifying, I think, for most people involved. But that said, it gives us a really nice way to frame your messaging to people. And this can be applied not just on LinkedIn and Twitter or Instagram, whatever, but also on emails, which I'm going to talk about because that's a very forgotten tool from people. So here's my ideal elevator pitch format, okay? Start with who you are. Most people forget to say their names or introduce themselves when they're messaging someone. They sometimes jump straight into things, which is not super nice because also you want to get into the habit of introducing your name, because how many times I've been in an event and I forgot because I was so nervous to say my name. And I ended up getting in a conversation and halfway through the person's like, I don't know your name. And then you don't know the other person's name either. And then if you miss that person, you never talk to them again, you can't find them, right? So not good practice. So introduce yourself and then add some context. So what part of your background they need to know to start a conversation with you. And this is a really good practice because we tend to give, I think, too much information upfront, or we want to say so much and we want to explain our whole history to someone. It is really hard because you just need to give people one reason to say yes or no and continue reading your message, okay? So think about this. Why are you connecting with that person, okay? So if I'm introducing myself to someone because I want them to hire me to do public speaking, I'm probably going to talk to them about my work as a public speaker first, and then introduce myself and then explain why I'm connecting with them, because I'm really interested in their work or because I've been to their event series, for instance. What is it about them that I want to connect with? Why am I talking to that person? Why did I message Mark and not Anna, right? Really important that the person feels like the message is crafted. I'm sure everyone here has received spam email, and you can always tell that you're receiving a spam email. So please do not spam people online because it's not going to bring you any results. It's just going to give you a lot of headache and hope, and work that's not going to bring you anything. So connect with people. And then you can see that in pink is ask, because this is where people get really confused. You should usually have an ask on a message. We can also be described as a call to action of sorts. And then close. When online, always close with extra kindness. You never know what people are going through. Everybody's going through something. You don't know if the person woke up in the wrong side of bed that day and is reading everything in a bad mood, So just be extra polite so that if there are cultural differences, if the person is having a bad day, they'll still think that you came off as a polite, respectful human being, like we all wish other people were with us, okay? Now, the ask is key. Most people think that asking for something is being pushy, but asking for something is just giving the opportunity to the other person to respond to what you want easily. So if you're going to ask, would you be able to have a coffee with me in the next 2 weeks? Or can we schedule a 10-minute, Zoom call for me to discuss X, Y, and Z with you? You are giving people something to say, yes, I can do it, or say, no, I'm not the right person, or no, maybe you should talk to this person. But you're making it really easy for that person to start the conversation or continue the conversation with you. If you just write a whole paragraph about your life and explain why you're roasting asparagus instead of just giving the asparagus recipe as that person wanted, please remember that they will probably take much longer to respond, and they might never respond because they don't know why you messaged in the first place. Being direct actually means that you're respecting people's time, right? And you want to get something great, you're clear, you're polite, people can say yes or no and help you or not help you, but even if they can help you, they'll give you direct feedback and you're not left hanging, which is a lot nicer than just waiting for something forever that's never going to come. So whenever you're messaging someone, just remember this meme. I love this meme. I'm obsessed with it because it's so true. If you ever look for a recipe, you have to read through 10 pages of someone's life's history. Now, someone told me that this is for a reason, that if you're a food blogger, the stuff they write before helps protect their copyrights or something like that. And I'm all here for it. Always protect your work, credit your work, all the power to them. But as a reader, it can be a bit boring if you just want to find a recipe and you need to scroll through 10 pages of something that you're not interested in. So remember that when messaging someone online, especially for professional purposes, you do not want to be a food blogger. You want to be a recipe writer, okay? Edit your story. Now, the ask. This is where people say, but isn't really pushy. I'm just asking. The ask can be many things. The ask can be, I would love to stay in touch. Could we stay in touch? What would be the best way for us to connect? Please let me know next time you're in this city so we can talk. You told me that I would love to hear more about this, or can you send me the name of that person that you mentioned, or any of those things that are as all messages that I've received or that people have received that they liked and responded to online. Okay, so you can see that they are all in different levels. The second one is from a friend of mine. She was moving sort of to a different place, and she was looking for connections there because she wanted to know more about it, to figure out if she was going to open a company there and all those things. And a lot of people tagged people on it because that's such a simple ask. Like, this is what I want in this region, and this is why, right? And again, most times you can say, I'm looking for an internship to work. And if you have a job position open on LinkedIn and they have the name of the hiring person, you can always message them and say, hey, my name is this. This is my experience, really fast. Really interested in this job. Would I be able to schedule a 10-minute conversation with you just to see if I'm the best fit for it, or if this is the best fit for both of us, anything like that. So you can always usually get in touch with people. Most people will have 5 minutes to give you. And fun fact, people love talking about themselves. So if you're asking for advice and you want to hear more about their experience, more often than not, they will say yes to you if you make it really easy for them, right? This is what we're doing. We're upping our chances of getting yeses in life. Everyone okay so far? I'm rushing a bit so we have some time for questions. Now, as I said, when you're framing yourself online, if you want people to reach out to you for a particular reason, it's always a good idea to think about. And this is only if you're providing a service or if you're looking to, to get hired by someone, or if you want to position yourself in a particular way. These are good phrases to sort of have in the back of your head. You don't need to use them on your profile, but it's good. I would actually encourage everyone to put their professional experience in one of these formats, even if it's not perfect, because it helps you to stop thinking about what you do, just on what you actually do, to what you do towards who and what problems are you solving to other people. Now, Maybe this is more relative to a side hustle you have, a side project, or your dream job, or something you're totally different from what you're currently doing. Fine. But it's just a really good exercise in terms of how we frame our narratives, how we frame our experience, so that other people find it a lot easier to connect with us. All we want to do right now is to break down our amazing experience and all our personality into an easier way, a window, so to speak, so that people can come in and start chatting with you for the right reasons. So my final notes on reaching out to people online is to avoid empty words. If you have never messaged someone online, or if you're still sort of new to it, please read your message out loud. If you cringe while you're reading, don't send it. Try to use your own words. Do it in a tone of voice that sounds like you, because then when people meet you, they're like, oh, this makes sense. Also, I have never had someone just come up to me in the middle of a work event in real life or in a coffee shop and tell me, you know what, I love to add you to my network. That's just so weird. Like, why do you want to be in your network? What does that even mean, right? So that's weird. Don't say that. If you Google things like, what are the best messages to send someone on LinkedIn, or what are good cold emails, they're all going to be the cringiest things ever. So don't do that. Use stuff that you would actually say. Okay, bring a bit of a personality to the message, because it will help. You all know what it's like to receive a message that has been copied and sent to a bunch of people. You can tell you've been spammed, so don't spam anyone. And my personal pet peeve, which is, I love to pick your brains. I hate this expression because, as I said, I am very allergic. I itch a lot. So the idea of someone like opening my brain up and picking at it makes me itch. It's horrible. I don't know why we say this. It's not comfortable. No one wants anyone to pick their brains. So yeah, try to avoid that unless it like really makes sense to you. But definitely online, it's a cliche. It's horrible. No one likes it. Don't do it. Now, you're going to tell me I'm going to go to this work. I'm going to message some people that I'm interested in talking to. And then they're going to tell me, no, I can't help you. Fine. No is great. No means that the person can help you. They're not the right person. Or if you're getting too many no's, your approach might be slightly wonky. You can improve that. It's feedback. It's something you can use. If people just ignore you, you get nothing to work from. Okay. So if you hate hearing no, let me tell you, how life is going to be tricky for you. But I have a little nice exercise for anyone who is really scared of hearing no. And it consists of choosing a coffee shop. Please don't go to the coffee shop you go every day, because this coffee shop is a place that you probably will never step foot again. But okay, go to a coffee shop one day, random coffee shop, go inside and ask for a pizza, ask for a milkshake, ask for a burger. Ask for something the coffee shop 100% does not have. Whiskey, tequila, you choose. Have the barista tell you, no, we don't have that. We can't do that. And realize that you, as a human, is still much alive and not crumbling to the ground. Basically, the more no we hear, the better we get at it. It's not nice. No one likes to be rejected. But remember, if you just send someone a question and they said, no, I can help you, maybe they can help you then. Maybe they're not the right person. Maybe they're really stressed. Maybe they had 3 kids. True story. Not mine, but that happened to someone that I was messaging once, and they took 9 months to respond. And they're like, well, I had twins and I have another baby. My life is chaos. I can't help anyone right now. As I said, you don't know what's going on in people's lives, but a no is the feedback. A no answer is what you want to avoid here. Now, in real life, I think I jumped the in real life moment. You do slightly different, okay? So, number 1, when you are in real life event, you don't have the benefit of having this like snapshot of someone's, oh, this is what they do, this is their bio, this is where they work, this initial introduction. So you kind of have to be curious about people. You need to ask them questions. And maybe you're going to meet the person that is really going to support you and is going to be really pivotal in your career. And all you're going to talk about is baseball, because that's where you connect. Okay. And that's fine. The woman that I now forgot her name, Samantha something, I think, who was the US ambassador to the UN, is from, I think, Ireland. Maybe I'm wrong. I think Ireland. Went to the States when she was younger, fell in love with baseball. She once went to this work event. She wrote this book and she went to this work event and she met this guy she wanted to be her mentor, and she got super sort of starstruck, and it was like 9 p.m. at an event, and she just spoke to him nonstop about her work in like this genocide that she was working on. And she was talking about wars and her work, and this guy was getting really tired. And, obviously he was like, well, this is great. You do amazing work, but it's 9 p.m. I'm exhausted. I deal with this all day long. And they didn't really connect. And she was like devastated. Then at another event, because she was more relaxed, she connected with some person who was actually going to give her biggest shot in her career, to support her and become a lifelong mentor. And she went in, and of course she introduced herself. She said what she did, and they connected over baseball, of their shared love to baseball or basketball. I don't know, a sport with a ball. I don't remember the details, but that's just a good example, life example of someone who's like in high echelons and navigating really big, events and really trying to solve world problems, but, connecting with people again on a personal level. So a great tip is you don't need to come with your pitch ready. When you're in real life, that message that we were planning, of course, it's going to help because you can frame your narrative so much easier. You can explain to people what is it that you do and what you're about much faster because you've been doing this online. But you get the chance to ask people questions. So just come open and curious, because at least you're going to hear from others' experiences. You're going to learn what people like about their jobs. What do they do? Maybe you're just going to learn a really good tip of this, like the best place to eat dim sum in your city. I don't know. That's always a good thing to know. The second thing is, if you're really scared of networking in real life, go as a group. Either bring a friend, bring someone who is more of a social butterfly, or find a second introvert just like you and go together. It is a lot easier to bring people in together, to approach someone who might be looking a bit out of the picture, or even go to another group or another couple of people if you are with someone already. If you don't know who's going to that event, but you really want to attend, use your social media platform, use your online platforms to say that. So maybe you blog, maybe you tweet, maybe you post on LinkedIn. I'm thinking about going to this conference. Has anyone ever been? Do you have any tips? Is anyone going? Would you like to meet? Because then you have people that you can meet there. You can have a quick coffee with. You can have people bring you pointers. And a lot of big organizations and big conferences will also have some sort of organization for first-time goers or first-time attendees. And that's a really nice way to break the ice and feel a lot more comfortable in a big sort of more corporate versus environment. Now, few final tips to rush through so we can have at least like 10 minutes of Q&A. Before you connect with anyone, or if you're going to a real life event, try to prepare yourself. So if it's a big conference, who is going to be there? Who would you like to meet? Which panels you are thinking of going? Message people. If anyone's going to be there, make sure that you have time to meet them there, that you have their number, whatever it is. Bring some water, go in comfortable clothes. Always go in comfortable clothes, whatever type of event you're going. And I'm not telling you to go in sweats, but go in something that you feel good, because if you're feeling comfortable, that you can walk a lot and feel happy, it's going to make your life a lot easier. And this is the thing, if you hate introducing yourself, try to record a few versions of you introducing yourself, or reading out your LinkedIn bio, or reading some of those outreach messages that we discussed. Because the more sort of you record yourself and you hear a voice and you're like, okay, I didn't cringe. This sounded like me. This sounds like something I can actually say. It means that then when you are put face to face with that situation, you'll have something to say. Okay, it's the same thing if you go to an interview. There's always that question, oh, tell me about yourself, which is basically a version of what we said about editing your story, right? You edit your professional story to that job, to that position that you're talking to. So if you are really green, or maybe you don't like that part of the interview, just write a few versions, record yourself, and practice until you feel like, okay, this sounds better, this sounds good. And of course, when you come to it, you probably change words slightly. That's all good. You want to sound natural, but it helps a lot to prepare, especially if you hate speaking in public or speaking out, or it gives you a bit of, if you're not that confident, confidence is something we build. And so networking is the same. And the final thing is, don't forget that networking, as I said, it's something that you have to continue working on. So if you go to a real life event, it's really good form to follow up with people sort of 24 to 48 hours afterwards. So if you said, let's catch up, just write people a really nice email, like it was so lovely to meet you, we'd love to catch up more, anything like that. And ensure that you added that person as you said you would, or whatever it is, just send a quick hello. It's just really good form, and it will help you to keep conversations going. Now, if everything I said still sounds horrifying and you're like, I hate all of this, I don't want to do any of it, is there anything else that I can do to expand my network, or to start networking, or to start positioning myself as a particular type of person in the market? Then I would say to flip it. My favorite thing about networking is not actually what people can do for you, but what you can offer instead. Here's the thing. As I said, I asked everyone to think about 3 things that define you. We all have things to offer our community. And again, your community will be different from mine. Maybe your community is runners. Maybe you work in web design and web development, or maybe you're like a hardcore graphic design that uses a particular program, whatever it is that you do, or you want to be seen, or who your community is. Think about things that you can support people with, right? So maybe you are amazing at using this one tool on Adobe that no one knows how to use, and you can tell people that you can give them a hint, like, did you know you can do this? Or you can host a webinar about something you're very good at, or something you're interested in and you have a lot of passion or a lot of ownership on. Or you can help to review 3 people's portfolios and ask people to do a cover letter and CV swap with you. There's so many things that you can do for your community to support them. You can share opportunities, you can pass along things that you hear that are maybe not best for you. And the best thing about this is that, number 1, you're supporting people around you. Number 2, you're starting conversations with people without having to work too much for it. Like, if you are telling people, look, I'm a graphic designer, I have some free time, I would love to support a charity that working with the environment, or a charity working with, I don't know, women's rights. I can support with like a logo, or maybe do this, or maybe whatever, create a few Instagram templates, or I can give a tip on how to start on TikTok. A lot of brands and small charities really struggle with things like that. For instance, it's something you could offer, which means that people come to you, they'll tag you, they'll see you as sort of like a leader in that field, or a well-respected voice, or someone who knows what they're talking about in that particular subject. People will come to you, they'll recommend you, they'll refer you, more people will come, and you can start conversations. And again, you can support someone, support an organization, and maybe even meet new collaborators, new clients, and so on. So it has sort of a effect that really only creates benefits, and is one of the nicest things, I think, with networking, is that you can actually support other people. So whenever I ask for recommendations of anything, I'll usually then compile my best, everything that people said, and like, oh, these are the best things that people told me, or those are the best tips I found. There's someone called Phoebe Dodds on LinkedIn, and she was one of our mentors, and she usually posts about new apps that she's been using that have been helpful to her for her online or one-person business. And those are usually great. She has really good tips, and she tests out a lot of new products. So it's just good practice. Think about sharing things with your community, because that's just a really easy way to continue to follow up and engage your network. If you go to our Instagram, and our LinkedIn, we have a lot of tips. This is one of them. This is a type of flip it. So there's a lot of people that put together resource lists. We share opportunities every week on our Instagram. Again, we create them from all over the world, through the creative industries. We take a lot of time to do it. And this is just a way for us to sort of give back. The community starts conversation and bring people to us. It's, again, some networking prompts. You can find that on our Insta. A few other tips, as I mentioned, we have the networking guide for creatives. This is particularly good for people with online businesses or service-based businesses, because there's a whole thing about finding and pitching your clients. We have, as I mentioned, a lot of free guides. So the group mentoring guide, which has a ton of clickable resources as well. And we have a full course on raising your profile and networking on Domestika. you can get 15% off with this code, Isabel Sachs new. I think it's £9 or something. It's not expensive, so take a look if that's something you're interested in. And the website to get all of our resources, as I mentioned, is that. So that said, I think we have 5 minutes for Q&A.